This is a 14-inch marching snare drum. It sounds like this. This is a 14-inch drum set snare drum. It sounds like this. This is a 14-inch floor tom. It sounds like this. This is a 14-inch marching bass drum. It sounds like this. Throughout the course of this video, we are going to make a Frankenstein human centipede abomination, attaching all of these drums together. And in addition to these, I also have all of this stuff over here. We have a total of 10 marching snare drums. We got 5 drum set snares, 2 floor toms, and just the 1 bass drum. Making a grand total of 19 14-inch drums that will be fused into one. So the way this is going down, so we gotta have 1 drum with only the top head and no bottom head, and another drum with no top head and only the bottom head. And we're gonna take one of the rims from those drums that we're not using. We take half of the tension rods and we're gonna plug them into one drum and then put the other half of the tension rods and plug them into the other drum. If you've seen The Cowboy Drummer, you'll know that this concept was heavily inspired by his wacky drum stacking shenanigans. So since we're starting with just 2 marching drums, this will work mathematically. They both have 12 lugs. However, when we get into fusing these different drums, the drum set snares, they have 10 lugs and the floor tom has 6. So as long as there is at least 2 of the tension rods that line up from drum to drum, this should work out. So let's get on it. All right, we were able to construct the double marching snare drum. As you can see, it's every other tension rod alternating. And then we got the double floor tom. This one, I didn't notice this at first, but this Yamaha drum on the bottom only has 6 lugs and the Apex has 8. And like I said, all we need is just 1 of the tension rods going into each drum, and we have way more than that. The Yamaha drum, it's got 4 of them going in, and the Apex has 2, one on this side, one on the opposite. And we got the double drum set drum, Apex on top, Pearl on the bottom, and every single tension rod is alternating. And sadly, I am disassembling the snare drums to make this video because, well, we need all of the snare drums. But don't worry, I am not done with the snares. They will make a comeback soon. Also, another unfortunate issue I am running into is the bass drum. That is not going to work with any of these snare drums, and the reason is that the claws go into the lug casings. It is much further out, like the distance from the shell to where the tension rod inserts. So when we put the tension rod into the rim, it is like way short of going into the bass drum. And yeah, we definitely can't use the claws attaching to the bass drum rim because then it will be too wide to go into the snare drums. So 14-inch bass drum is cut, and unfortunately we're going to have to use only 27 drums for this project. I know, major disappointment, but we will prevail. Well anyways, it is now time to do the sound comparison test. Which do you think sounds better, the single snare or the double snare? I honestly think the single snare is going to win this round, although the double snare sounds very good, and they are tuned to the exact same pitches, top and bottom head. I just think that the single snare has a little bit more articulation, I guess. Okay, now we move on to the drum set drum round. Yeah, another clear winner here to me. I'm going to go with the single drum once again. I think the snare response is a whole heck of a lot better than it is on the double snare. And last up we have the double floor tom, and now I can't compare this to a single because I only had two, so I'll just splice in clips from earlier in the video. So I'm gonna have to go back and review this while I'm editing, but I think I like this better than the single floor tom. I think it has a whole lot of resonance and definitely more low end. What do you think, me editing later?
Well, me recording earlier, I think that you are incorrect. Now that I'm listening back to this with my headphones on, I do think that the single floor tom sounded more resonant and definitely better overall. And also, I don't think that the drum set snare drums were tuned in a way that was fair. The head on the double drum, that thing is like 6 years old and has a crap ton of muffling on it for no reason. So compared with the brand new head of the single drum, I don't think that was a fair comparison. So okay, let's go back to me in the recording room.
Ah, I see. Very good points that I brought up right there. Okay, let's go make some more monstrosities. We have the ultimate challenge right here. We got the single snare versus the double versus the triple versus the quadruple. My prediction is that they're gonna sound worse as we go, but let's find out. Don't die, don't die, don't die. Don't knock the drums over. Yeah, I was right. They sound worse as we go. The snare response, as I expected, is much worse when there's that much more room from the top head to the bottom head. And I also have the quintuple drum set snare drum stack. Once again, I think this is gonna sound pretty freaking bad, but we might as well try it anyways. That sounds better than I thought it would, actually. Honestly, I think it has everything to do with which drum you have on the top, because this is my new Mapex snare, and that's the first one I used as the solo demonstration. Yeah, and then somehow the snare resonance is actually kind of good throughout all 5 of the shells. Yeah, it just sounds like a big field drum. I actually kind of like it. I'm going to start doing this from now on my drum set. So I'm going to continue the rest of the project outside because this is about to get real big and heavy and awkward, and I would rather drag drums on the grass than on the concrete floor. But before we do that, I had to test out marching this triple American flag colored snare drum. It would be unpatriotic if I didn't. I can't do like that dip thing because the drum hits the ground. Ow! Oh, I need shin guards to march with this. Okay, the marching technique is you gotta keep your legs like this far apart. This honestly doesn't feel that heavy for being 3 snare drums. It definitely feels better than the Snenners. I know that 100%. Okay, let's go get the rest of the drums. I have done it! I have created a massive worm of drums, and it tops in at a magnificent 13 feet long. That's actually bigger than when Tony G and I made the Octobon drums. The biggest one was 10 feet, so we have set a new world record, I think. And I also wanted to weigh this to see how heavy it is, but it's like impossible to get on a scale. So what I did was I weighed each of the stacks individually, which the total comes out to 166 pounds. Although some of the hardware was removed to make this, so it's more like 160-ish pounds. So the original plan was to prop this thing up on a snare stand so that the whole thing wouldn't be on the ground, but I think that's gonna break a lot of the tension rods, because as you can see here, most of these are just held together with one rod on each side, like the connection piece to the marching drums and also into the floor toms. And I'm not trying to completely jack up these drums, okay? So we're just gonna play it as is, laying on the ground, and see what it sounds like. I think the booty facing the camera is the best way to do this. If you would like to see me create some more wacky drum contraptions, you can check out this link to see the playlist of me building things, and have a good morning.